Hey guys, hope you're having a good Saturday morning. In this video, I thought I would give a very brief summary of the April 20th Diablo 4 live stream. This is going to be very basic. I'm not going to go into deep detail. I want this to be a shorter video. But yeah, maybe I thought I would just do a very brief recap of everything for maybe some people that missed it or just want a very short overview. The Diablo 4 live stream was co-hosted by 4 people. I'll let themselves do a little sound off right here.
Hey folks, this is Riker.
Hi, I'm Joe Shelley, Game Director for Diablo 4.
I'm Joseph Pipora, I'm the Associate Game Director for Diablo 4.
And I'm Adam Fletcher, I'm the Associate Director of Community for the Diablo franchise.
And I do recommend you guys watch the full thing. I'll put a link down in the description. It was really great, and they really know their stuff. So I hope you guys enjoy my little synopsis of what went on during the live stream. All right, here we go. So in the first portion of the stream, they focused on world tiers and how you kind of advance to the next world tier. There's 4 world tiers in total. The first 2, you start from 1 to 50. And then the third world tier, I believe, is 50 to 70, and the last world tier is 70 to 100. I believe that's the specific order. But basically, they were talking about how to get to the third and fourth world tiers, you have to do specific dungeon capstone dungeons that are much more difficult, and basically I'm guessing you only be able to progress to the next world stone if you complete. So they're so difficult that if you keep dying to it and you keep failing, then you have to either quit the dungeon and get better gear and then come back later. And I think that's great. You don't want someone to just keep beating their head for 2 hours until I guess you could do that if you're really desperate and really want to try and beat it. But I think it's better if you just, oh, this is too hard. I'll come back once I have some better gear to make it easier. I hope, everyone will try to complete these capstones differently, but I'm guessing that's the general thesis or idea behind doing it. Even Riker said in the stream that he had difficulty. He tried at one point, it was too hard, he had to come back. So that's always nice to hear. He's a pretty experienced player, so it's nice to hear that these will actually be pretty difficult. My only concern is I wonder how these are going to work in a party. I'm guessing, I know the monsters scale, but I wonder if they scale enough, if in a party it's just so much easier. Especially, I guess someone could just carry you, but maybe there's going to be restrictions there. All right, so in the next portion of the stream, they focused on itemization, basically showing off some of the legendaries and uniques. We kind of know a lot of the legendaries already. I'll post everything they shared, and you can pause the video if you want to read them and look into them in detail. They also posted some uniques. I know the Harley Quinn crest, sorry, was a +4 to all skills, and that seemed like a very powerful unique. So it was cool to show off some of the uniques. I think you can find them if you look hard enough on the internet, but this is the first official post showing some of them off. So that was very cool. And they also went into detail about, I think in World Tier 3, you can get sacred items, which are, I think, like a buffed version of the legendaries. And then in World Tier 4, when you're 70 and above, there's sacred items, which I think are the higher tier above that. So you will be swapping out your gear between tiers, which, I guess makes sense for the progression. I'm not a huge... I think the itemization so far is pretty cool, but I'm not like a huge... I don't know the depths of the itemizations yet. So, but if you guys are just curious about the powers, you can see them here. All right, so then they started talking about Hell Tides. And Hell Tides are basically, think of them as like grand scale world events, kind of similar to the world events we saw in the Diablo 4 beta, but to a bigger scale at end game max level. And basically, the zone turns red. You know when you're in one, you'll see a bunch of parties and groups of people running around killing stuff. And the main point of this zone is to collect these little red orbs or fiery orbs called cinders. And when you collect enough of them, you can run around the Helltide zone and open up chests, and each of these chests have a specific item, so you can go and use your currency on the chest you want. For example, if you want a legendary glove or a epic glove, you can run to the chest with it and purchase it. But these do expire once the event's over, so you do need to use them within the event. But yeah, this looked cool. I definitely liked the red aesthetic, and as a more world content guy, I think this would be something I'd focus on. So next, they jumped into Nightmare Dungeons. I'm not going to go into the full specifics of everything, but they did show off some sigils you'll see on the screen here. You can see the green effect is a buff affix your character gets, and then the non-green colors are debuff affects, or things that make the dungeon more difficult. And these are going to be the hardest things your character does in the Diablo 4 endgame. This is like the end game, because apparently the monsters can scale to 150, so definitely going to be hard for a level 100 character. And I also heard that these nightmare dungeons, there's only going to be 30 dungeons you can make nightmare dungeons, I believe, for each season, which is kind of nice because there's 120 dungeons. So that means they can, you know, within a year, you'll experience, yeah, because there's 4 seasons in a year roughly, so you'll experience every dungeon within a year, or at least that would be the plan, right? So that's pretty cool. So then they started talking about the Paragon board, and I'm going to keep this pretty simple. I'm not going to go into the full detail. But basically, as we saw in their previous video, the white nodes are basically just stat buffs, but they serve a bigger purpose, as you'll see going down the line. The blue nodes, those are basically just affix buffs to a certain skill or ability for your character or class. And then yellow is where it kind of gets more technical. Basically, that provides a bigger buff, or bigger buff for affix for a specific thing like fighting elites or something. But as you can see, the green buff is based off having a certain stat at a certain number or level. It gives you an additional bonus. And I think that's where I almost think this Paragon board is more of a Paragon puzzle, where you're basically trying to collect enough of a certain stat, or maybe 2 stats or 1 stat. Like you want enough dexterity to use this rare node. So I think it's kind of cool that it's more of a puzzle and you want to fill it. I mean, of course, a lot of people are going to look it up online, but maybe some people will try to figure it out themselves. And then the last node is the legendary node, which actually I think the rare nodes are more complicated than the legendary. The legendary nodes are just basically a buff to the type of, they're specific to the Paragon board, and like the Paragon boards are more focused on a certain, not aesthetic, but specialty of your class. So like for Necromancer, if you want to be a Blood Necro, there's going to be a legendary for Blood Necros. There's a legendary for Summoning Necros. So this is just the buff your class fantasy. Alright, so while they were talking about the Paragon board, they also talked about the glyphs that you'll be acquiring. And I'm going to really dumb this down because I would recommend watching the full stream on the Diablo channel if you're really curious about this stuff, because I'm going to keep this pretty simple and basic, because it sounded, maybe I'm making it more complicated than it was, but basically you put glyphs, you collect glyphs as you play the game, and you put them into your Paragon board. And they kind of buff basically a circle around wherever the socket is. It buffs a lot of the nodes, you know, either, you know, white nodes, blue nodes, yellow nodes. I don't think they're near legendary nodes, but basically you put these glyphs into the sockets on your board and it buffs a bunch of nodes, basically just increasing the percentage. It might be doing more than that, but I'm not entirely sure. So yeah, glyphs are just an additional way to customize your Paragon board and make the board more complicated, which, you know, I'm guessing people will just look up. Or maybe they'll figure it out on their own. I might try to figure it out on my own. Oh, and they also said you could upgrade your glyphs, basically making I think the circle bigger, or making the percentage buff increase. And you basically do this by doing Nightmare Dungeons. And that's as far as I'm going to go with glyphs. Alright, so that was the end of basically the end game update and news they put on the stream. The second portion of the stream was mainly focused on impressions and thoughts they got from the Diablo 4 beta that happened about a month ago. And as you can kind of see here, you guys can pause the screen. Here's just a list of some of the general class changes. As you can see, they definitely kind of helped nudge Barbarian and Druids, which are more, well, Druid can be more melee focused if you want. But they kind of did put some emphasis on helping the Barbarian and the Druid. I'm not going to go through the whole list here. You can just pause the screen and read it. Barbarians, they kind of made some of their weaker core spenders more powerful, but also made them a little bit more tanky because they felt pretty squishy compared at least to the Werebear Druid. Druid, they helped their companion buffs a little bit. Necromancers, they did some changes to the summons. Rogue, I think Rogue got the least amount of changes. I thought they were in a pretty good spot. The Rogues, they made some changes to their imbuements and also made it so that they use some of their skills more often. And then Sorcerer, I think on the Sorcerer side, unfortunately, it was more nerfs than buffs. But yeah, once again, I'm not going to go into detail here. You can just pause and read this if you would like. But it's great to see that they're just kind of making changes based off what happened in the beta. And of course, this is a live service game, so throughout the course of Diablo 4, they're always going to make buffs and nerfs, so there's always going to be a meta class or something. But I say play what you want to play. So after the class discussion, they jumped into map changes, especially specifically dungeon changes. As you can see by the unhappy faces, there was a lot of complaints. I honestly didn't mind it too much, but I guess I'm in the minority. I didn't do a bunch of dungeons. You know, I think a lot of the hardcore players focused on the dungeons. But as you can see, they kind of made changes to the dungeons to make it easier to navigate them and do a lot less backtracking, which I do think is great. But yeah, I'll just do a quick pan of all of the images they shared. You can kind of see there were 3 zones, but now they split it into, it's more of one continuous path, but there are options to take those additional paths if you just want to kill everything, or maybe there's going to be an event in those little optional paths. But yeah, I think this is a great change. I'm amazed they were able to do this in a month. Maybe it's because the dungeons are kind of just puzzle pieces and they can just move stuff around very easily. It is incredible that they can make these dungeon changes in a month. So that, I mean, that's good news that they can probably make more dungeon changes in the future. So yeah, you guys can just pause this and look at the changes here. But yeah, that was kind of their summary for dungeons. And so for the third portion of the stream, they announced some great news. For anyone clamoring to play Diablo 4 again, there's actually going to be another beta, the Server Slam, May 12th through the 14th, Mother's Day weekend. You can fight the real Diablo mother. But yeah, no, this is amazing news. I'm going to definitely play this. They should have done some sort of Denny's Grand Slam with this news, you know, to get people a reason to buy the game. I don't know. Anyways, I always find it funny that they give like these special announcements, Server Slam, funny, interesting names. So there are some changes for this Diablo 4 beta weekend. You'll only be able to get to level 20 this time around. Instead of level 25, so you won't be able to get your characters, your class's ultimate ability. But the good news is you still can get the rewards for reaching level 20. You can get the initial casualty title or the early Voyager title, and also the beta Wolfpack cosmetic item, which we've shown off. It's that little cute little wolf backpack. But as you can see here, there's actually one additional reward, the Cry of Ashava Mount Trophy. That's earned by defeating Ashava with one level 20 character. And he'll spawn, she, I don't know if it's a guy or girl, he will spawn May 13th, starting at 9 a.m. and every 3 hours after that. So this one will spawn a lot more. And I highly recommend, if you really just want the cosmetic and you don't care about it being hard or easy, do it on adventure mode, because some people are stupid. I tried beating the boss a few times the last beta, and some people either were too low level or didn't know what they were doing. So if you just want the cosmetic really bad like I do, you can try it once on hard mode, on a veteran mode, but just do it on adventure mode and get it easy peasy. So here it is. So this is the model for the, the Cry of Ashava Mount Trophy, earned by defeating Ashava with one level 20 character during the beta happening May 12th through the 14th for the Server Slam for Diablo 4. You'll get this cool looking little mount piece or claw that's detached from the big monster. And you'll have it on your horse for the official release. And once again, I know people get confused with this, but this reward only is given to you for the official game release. You're not going to get this reward at level 20 in the beta. But yeah, I think it looks sweet. And it's just kind of, they're going to add mount cosmetics to the game, and this is one you can get from the beta. So once the beta's over, you can't get this reward anymore. So yeah, get your hands on it when you can. All right, so we reached the end of the video, and I'm going to end on this little card here that kind of shows all the information for that beta weekend coming up. You can play all the classes, level 20. It's just the Act 1 like before. You can kill Ashava for for that cool horse reward. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you liked the stuff I did. Very dumbed down. I just, just a quick dumbed down version of everything. Maybe this helped you guys. Maybe it didn't. Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, I'm excited to play the beta, and what is it now? 3 weeks from now. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.